What's up, gamers? My name's Athena, and this is part one of my tutorial series on how to use DiceCloud. DiceCloud is a open source, free to use character creator for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. I use it for all of the games that I DM and also for characters that I have for just personal use. And I've had a lot of requests from my players for a tutorial on how to use this, so this is me making that tutorial. Part one is just going to be an overview of what the character sheet looks like and what each tab is for. And in further parts, we are going to be making a character sheet starting from scratch using the resources I have, just to sort of show you how it's all going to go together. All you need for a DiceCloud account is an email, or you can log in with Google as well. This is for version 1 of DiceCloud. There is a version 2 that is in beta right now, I believe, but version 2 requires a separate account. I don't know how to use version 2, so I cannot help anybody with that. I am very familiar with version 1, because at this point I've made hundreds of character sheets with it, probably. And so this is the version that I'm going to be telling you how to use. So we'll start off with just a general layout. This is sort of the home screen for DiceCloud. It has some example character sheets, there's a guide, there's a link to the DiceCloud subreddit, GitHub, etc. On the left side, you have your username. When you log in, you have to actually come up here and click. It'll say create username or something like that. You have to click to set your username. This is my account that I use for professional D&D that I run on Start Playing Games. I have a separate account that is for personal use. I often flip-flop between the two because sometimes it's just, once you get a bunch of characters, it's just easier to copy-paste things across character sheets. Underneath is a taskbar. If you're using version 1, it'll say V1 in the URL up here, and it'll have this try version 2 button here. You have home, characters, item libraries, there's a guide, feedback, Patreon, GitHub, all those good buttons, and then all of your characters and categories will show up underneath all that. If we go to the character screen, this is what it looks like. Characters that are not in a category will just show up above the categories. You can create a category by going down here and clicking this red button. It's called a party. You can make a new character, you can restore a character from backup, etc. I have everything sorted out the way that I need to. Actually, you can see here, I have them sorted by date and time. And we're just going to go into this copy of an artificer's sheet for our main overview. This is what it looks like when you pull it up. It always starts on the stats sheet unless you've exited the sheet and then gone back in. But when you open it up, you'll have the banner. Your character's name will show up here. You'll have, by default, you'll have stats, features, inventory, spells, persona, journal. You'll have a paint bucket tool and 3 dots on the side. And we're just going to go category by category and talk about what each of these pages are going to have in them, and just sort of give you an overview of that. So the stats page is pretty self-explanatory. If you're familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, you know what ability scores are, you know about speed and armor class and saving throws and skills. This is where all of the numerical or most of the numerical information, everything that has to do with skill checks and tracking your hit points and saving throws and hit dice, all of that information is going to show up here in the stats page. The cool thing about it is that you can click on basically anything in the stats page and see where it is coming from. There's also a conditions tracker that has preset conditions. It has every condition in 5th edition, so blinded, deafened, exhaustion, and each level of exhaustion as well, so you can stack those and track them separately. But you can click on anything in the stats page and see where it's coming from. So if I just click on this plus this Constitution saving throw, you see it's got proficiency. We can look at that, click on that, it'll pop up a window. You can see Constitution is 0, Proficient +2, so the total is 2, and that information will always be displayed in the same way no matter what you're looking at. You can click the arrow or click anywhere outside of the box to close it. So this is pretty straightforward. There's not a lot of anything interesting that's going to trip you up here. You can change the way certain things are displayed. We'll go over that at the end. But for the most part, this is where all of your numerical skill information is going to be. The next tab over is the Features tab. The Features tab is going to be where all of your features are going to be, which is a little bit of a redundant sentence, but it's a sentence. This is where your proficiencies with weapons, armor, and tools are going to be. This is also if you have any spells that have attacks attached to them, any abilities that have attacks attached to them, or any weapons that are equipped. They're going to show up in this column that says attacks right here. And then, of course, you have your actual features as well. The DiceCloud version 1 uses HTML for formatting and for some of the coding things, the more intricate coding things you can do. So if you're familiar with HTML formatting, you can pretty much format these however you'd like. These boxes do collapse. You can make them collapse through the formatting. But this is where your class abilities are going to go, your subclass abilities, and I also like to put the species or racial features, pick your poison for terminology, in this spot, and you can set up these boxes to pretty much show up anywhere. Once again, you can also click on anything in the sheet, see where it's coming from. So you see we have this box that says firearm proficiency. If I look in the proficiencies here and click on this firearm weapons proficiency, it actually opens up that box and it shows that it's a proficiency tied to this thing. Same if I open it up here. Okay, so this is the more complicated, the bulk of the work involved with making a DiceCloud character sheet, but it will seem less complicated as we go along. The next tab over is the inventory screen. This inventory screen, again, is pretty self-explanatory. You have about 3 things you can do here, which is you can add a container. A container looks like this. It's one of these boxes here. If you click on it, it shows you what's inside. If the container weighs anything, you can add a description, etc. You have an item from library, which has preset items, mostly from the player's handbook equipment page. And then you have a item button where you can make custom items. You also have, it shows you your net worth, which is the amount of money that the total cost of all of the things in your inventory that are being carried by you. Weight carried, if you're the kind of person that does encumbrance rules, it shows you how much weight you're carrying. You also have equipment, which applies weapons or armor to your actual character sheet, so they'll show up in features or stats. Carried equipment, these boxes you can click to see if they're carried or uncarried. So it's pretty straightforward. Uh, Next tab over is the Spells tab. The Spells tab has basically two main things. You're probably going to have the spell slots thing on the side, which is going to tell you how many spell slots you have and what level. They show up as these little dots, so you just click. And then you're probably going to have a spell list, which is what this container is. Again, you'll have spells that are in the library. You can also add custom spells. And that's really the reason why I use this a lot, because you can really customize it, add new things, and just kind of make it work the way that you need it or want it to. But the container here works exactly the same as in the features and in inventory. You can click on it. There's a description area that you can add things into. If you click on change prepared spells, you can also see if there's any spells. And we'll go over this in more detail when we get to that point. But this is not so difficult, and if you're running a character that doesn't need spells, there's also an option where you can toggle so the spell tab does not appear. The persona tab is next. This is where I like to put what I like to call the role-playing details. So this is where you will add your gender, your personality traits, ideals, bonds, flaws, your background, proficiencies, and feature, all of that kind of stuff, as you can see in this little description box. Because this is my default template for the Artificer, I like to put in all my default templates things like height, weight, size, creature type, and what kind of subclass that you can actually mark it down. This is all of the stuff that you would put in to actually define like who your character is and what they're all about. The next final tab that we have is the journal tab. Oh, I'm sorry. Persona tab, this is also where your languages will be displayed. So any language that you have, it will be in the persona tab. Finally, we've got the journal tab. The journal tab is where you track levels and species/racial ability score improvements. So you can add levels using this button up here, or you can add levels by just going into where it says Artificer, for instance. It'll say whatever class you're doing. So in this case, Artificer, editing it and changing the level inside the box. This tab you can use as a note-taking tab. I have in my character sheets by default, I always add a combat rules and a house rules cheat sheet just to make things easier. But you can use this button down here to make a new note, title it whatever you want, put whatever you want in it. It's a really great way to take notes. It also has an experience tracker. It does tell you like how much XP you need to get to be the next level if you're the type of DM that or a player who plays in a game where you track experience points. I don't use it for this purpose, but I have found that it is a great way to take notes as well, because you can change the value if you want, but mostly you can just name this whatever you'd like and then put whatever you'd like in the description, click out, and it collapses down. So that's another great way to do notes in DiceCloud. So that is every single tab in a standard DiceCloud character sheet. When you open up a new one, it's going to ask you to put in a name, a race, and a gender. If you don't have those decided yet, because maybe you're starting a new campaign and you don't quite know what you're going to do, you can just put in key smash, and that works just fine. As long as there's something in those fields when you start up the character sheet, it will take it. And you could always edit those details later. By default, when you start out, a fresh character sheet is going to have all of the base ability scores set to 10, which you can see here. That is the case with the ability scores right here. And you can do a lot of customization of how the character sheet looks, what you need it to do. DiceCloud, its sorting system, we'll get into it a little bit more when we get to actually sorting out a features tab when making a fresh character. But it sorts by color and then numerical order and then alphabetical order for anything that's in a box. And you can also change the color of your character sheet as a whole. You can add a picture to it, and we'll go into all of those things in more detail. The last thing that I want to point out to you about DiceCloud is the settings. We'll look at the individual settings for the tab. So you can delete a character sheet if you'd like. When you do that, it's going to pull up this box, and you have to put the name of the character sheet into there. That'll make this button turn red. You can delete the character from there. You can share it, which you can either do with usernames of people that also have DiceCloud's account. You can make it so they can only view it, or you can make it so that they can edit it. You paste it in there, you toggle which setting you want, you click share. You can also make it so that anyone with the link can share it. So I can copy paste this link, send it to someone, they'll be able to see a view only version of the character sheet. You have a print, which I've never used, but I guess if you wanted to, you could print out your character sheet. I'm not sure how well that would go because all of my games are run over Discord digitally, so there's really no need for any of my players or myself to print out a character sheet. Because you can also access DiceCloud from mobile as well as desktop, which you can see here. You have a settings box. If you click settings, you have three things here. You can hide the spells tab, so if you toggle this, it gets rid of that spells tab. You can use variant encumbrance, which just changes the encumbrance rules. I don't personally know what that does because I don't use encumbrance in my games. But if you use encumbrance and you know what this does, this might be useful for you. And the last tab, we'll tick it here just for demonstration's sake. You can swap stats and modifiers on the stats page. What that means is that by default, a DiceCloud character sheet is going to have the ability score be the big number and the modifier be the little number. But if you click this toggle, it'll switch them. So the modifier is the big number, the ability score is a small number. If you prefer your character sheet to look like that, you can do that. You can export to improved initiative. I don't know what that is. I don't use it. And you can make a copy of your character sheet or download a backup. Those seems pretty self-explanatory. Download a backup, I believe, gives you the HTML code for the sheet. Again, I don't really use this feature, but if you use it, I suggest playing around with it to see what you can actually do with it. I believe you can re-upload a character sheet if you download a backup from DiceCloud. So if you lost your character sheet but you had a backup, you can upload it again. And make a copy is exactly what it says on the tin. It's going to make an exact copy of whatever character sheet that you're copying. So that is the overview of DiceCloud. There are a few other little things here. Like I said, you have the characters and you can sort those by a party or a game or whatever you'd like to use. You have an item library, which I might make a separate tutorial on later, but essentially what an item library is, allows you to make custom items. We'll see a little bit about that as we go along. The guide just gives you some tips and tricks about how to set up your character sheet, but if you're watching this tutorial, you probably won't need it. And that is it. That is the entire overview of DiceCloud version 1 character sheet. The next part, we're basically going to take it step by step. So the next part, we're going to open up a fresh character sheet. We're going to name it, pick a species, pick not alignment, a gender, etc. And we are going to start with the background. The second part the third part of the series, we're going to move on to the species stuff. And the fourth part of the series, we're going to do the class stuff. And we're going to go ahead and make a level 5 character, just to sort of demonstrate what that looks like. And we're going to set up a character that has like spells, so you can see how we would add spells and stuff. But just to sort of give a good overview of what you can do with it and what things are going to look like once that you're completely done. This has been Athena. I don't have anything else much to say after that, but I hope that you'll stick around and continue watching this series. And if it helps you figure out how to use DiceCloud, then great, I've done my job. You can find me on YouTube. I've tried to do some playthroughs. I might try to do some more in the future. We'll see. But I post videos every so often. I'm on Twitch sometimes. I stream. And it's Athena X Vio on YouTube and Twitch. And I'm also a professional dungeon master on Start Playing Games. My username on there is also Athena X Vio. I will post links to everything in the description, so if you want to find all that stuff, I will also include the links to the resources that I'm going to be using for the creation of the character sheet, so you can pull those open and follow along as we go along. That's all she wrote. Bye!